or a tree. We're back like the sound a dog makes. Good morning. How are you doing? How's your morning coming along? I have tried with this frame. I have really tried. Today the sun has shone. Like yesterday, the cold wasn't skinning my. Hey. But anyway, I'm happy. I know it was a good time when I woke up and I saw it's foggy outside. When it's foggy outside, it's less cold. And this is science that only me, I have decided. It has not been researched by anyone, but can anyone else tell me if they agree? But yes, welcome to another episode of the In All Honesty podcast. We were starting out our morning with Amini, that is Hilda Watiri and Njerai. So add it to your playlist. We are getting our music from Spotify. So yeah. Add it to your playlist. Support Kenyan artists. Listen to Kenyan music because we have quite a number of them. So even the songs I think I'll play for you today will be of musicians that I actually met at an event that I went to, a Spotify event that I went to. So that was Hilda Watiri. Lovely musician. I'll introduce you to, I think, two more. We only play music like twice in the podcast, right? Yes, I'll introduce you to two more ladies who are just brilliant. Niambieni, how are you doing? How's the morning? What are you doing? Unaelekea kazini? Ama, are you dropping off the kids to school? You know, Mondays are so hectic. And a lot of people have actually told me that they've caught the show that I've done on Tuesdays. But Mondays, it's a difficult. But do we worry? Do we really worry? Because I still put them up on streaming platforms and you're able to get them. Kathy Liseche, Haro, Moisturized Beauty. Nimewa Miss, how are you doing, Kathy Liseche? Atami Nimewa Miss. Imagine it's been 4 weeks. How many 3? It's been a minute, but a lot has been happening. Ata umona niko moisturized. I have even tried to wipe a bit so that I don't look mshaino like that. But who is the sun? Are we back to long days? Because why is 7 a.m. looking like this? It looks like midday. But anyway, I'm happy. I'm happy. Let's start with traffic updates. Niliambia watu wa Eldoret walitumia traffic updates. Tangu mpate traffic lights mnabehave vile mnataka. Anyway, what is this? Mombasa Road. Mombasa Road traffic around Nyayo Stadium, but it's not bad. It's actually easy, so you should be fine. Waiyaki Way, no traffic at all. So if you are on Waiyaki Way, tell us, Ebu, give us an update. Do you listen? Is there anyone who listens to us while commuting? I'm very interested. Am I just homebodies? It's work from home. Ruaka people. Ngong Road is easy. Ngong Road, no traffic at all. Let me check Thika Road. I actually met a Thika Road person over the weekend, and they were very adamant about never moving. See, they have traffic everywhere along the entire stretch. Here at at GSU is even worse. But labda Thika Road iliwakalia chapati. Who am I to judge? Sawa, kaeni Thika Road. And I wanted someone to tell me what road is it that goes to Rongai. I really want to know that Rongai Road. Is it Langata Road? Because I never see it. And I'm just like, by the way, I realized they also don't give updates for, it was Islando. I am classist. Islando, people give me your roads so that I'd be giving traffic updates. But yeah, that's basically it. Everyone seems to be, except Thika Road, everyone seems to be getting where they're going on time. So welcome to another episode of the In All Honesty podcast. Today we are talking about sex in relation to self-worth, and also is sex currency. First of all, tell me what you think about those two things. And this came up, well, I've been thinking about it for a while, but then there is this beautiful girl called Randoms by Mary, and she made this video where she was asking, is sex really tied to not loving yourself? Because she made the example that a 23-year-old living with their boyfriend is more socially acceptable. Our society has accepted that than a 28-year-old who's sleeping with someone that they've not married. So a 28-year-old will be considered loose. Yet at 20, no one is checking in on the 22-year-old who's already living with a man. You get? But so long as they're tied to one person, then they love themselves. I don't know. Yeah, so that's what she was trying to understand. And even me, I was like, by the way, sex is such a layered conversation. And while I was sat and just thinking about sex generally, I came to the conclusion that sex is currency. I personally believe for as long as men exist, sex is currency. And yes, you might do it for pleasure, you as a woman. Yes, you'll decide who you get to sleep with and all of that. But at the end of the day, men will use sex for one thing or another, in gain or in, like, I don't know. I guess the lesbians are the ones who've won in this one. But sex with men, But sex with men can be used as currency. So let's just get into the conversation. Do you think sex, whoever, like how you're having sex, like if you have multiple partners, is that related to you not loving yourself? You have low self-worth? And do you think sex is currency? Is sex something used in exchange for particular things? And here's the thing. We're not talking about sex work. We're not talking about sex work. So if you're having sex to get money, that's completely different. That one, I think we've talked about it in another episode in season 3, if I'm not wrong. That one is completely different. This one is just you having sex for love. I don't know. But do you think it is currency? Do you think it's being used in exchange for something? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. The first thing I thought about was does this does this lack of self-love apply to men as well? Or it is just women who, when they sleep around, they don't love themselves. But me, I realized I don't want a promiscuous man as well. Because what do you mean you don't have standards? And this is going to be very controversial, but in the way I operate, I usually look at the type of women the man I'm interacting with has dated or the type of women he's interested in. And that will help me judge if this is someone I want to involve myself with. And I remember the last man I was talking to, I later found out that they were seeing someone else. And I went and looked at what the girl is like. And the girl was a lot like me. Nidem Ameji Tuma, she's beautiful, she's really artistic and all of that. And I was like, okay, he has a type. And his type seems to be a particular caliber, which is good. So that's good for me. So I wasn't so upset. Because sometimes a man is pursuing you and then the things he's involved with, you're just like, is that me? Is that even up onto Amenieka? You get? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. But Ivana Waweru, you're saying our energy is currency, all of our energy, and we should benefit from anyone we give our energy to. My opinion, the benefit you get should be there, whether monetary or otherwise. That's what I'm saying. Me, I'm there with you. I am really there with you. We will say sex is just for fun, sex is casual, da 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 da. But every damn time I have seen a situation that involves sex, there is a dynamic there, especially a power dynamic. There's a power dynamic there. And if you are not conscious of it and use it to also like benefit yourself, like also make sure you're benefiting from this exchange, I'm with you, Ivana. I am totally with you. So we are talking about sex in relation to self-worth and is sex a currency? And Ivana is telling us everything about us, any energy that we have is actually something that should be exchanged in benefits. Like you should get benefit from it. So if you're giving someone your energy in any way, you should get something in return. And we'll talk about how men can be getting anything from the slightest of things. The slightest. A man will be calling you every day and be like, hey, I just want to know how your day was doing, how your day has been going every day. And this is not a man that you're dating. Ask yourself, what is this man gaining from just asking me how my day is going? So I have really looked at sex and the dynamics I have seen with different people when they're having sex, especially when they're not dating. And I can tell sex is currency. And not especially at using it to get money. Using it to get money is the most direct way. And that's the one I actually would advocate for. Iyo tunajua, I'm giving you this, you're giving me this amount of money, I'ma go home. Sex work is pretty easy. That one is straightforward. That one we're not arguing with. But the general sex that you're having with a one-night stand, an FWB, a situationship, that one, check it. There's a dynamic there that you're not clocking and someone is benefiting. I believe so. So tell me what you think about sex in relation to if sex is currency and also self-worth. Do you mean people who have multiple sex partners don't love themselves? That was the other question. If you have multiple sex partners or what Randoms by Mary said is sleeping around. If you're sleeping around, does it mean you don't love yourself? Now, that is the one that was very layered for me. And why that comparison she made didn't make sense to me, or it was just a question she was asking, is because we are saying we'll cut some slack for the 22-year-old who's settled with a man and is having sex, but we'll really give grief to the 28-year-old who's sleeping around with people who she's not necessarily in a relationship with. And I'm just like, you still could be disrespected even without your one man. Even you who's settled down with just one man, you could still catch diseases. You're still exposed to abuse. You're still exposed to being exploited and taken advantage of. What do you mean that because I've settled with one man, it means that I love myself more? Some people have settled with one man. You've settled with one man and you've settled with Mulamwa. How do you tell me you love yourself? I have been on Mulamwa's case for a minute. But even if you've settled with one man and that man is a vile person, that still shows that you don't love yourself. It is not the number of people, it's the caliber of people that you're interacting with. Ivana Waweru continues to say, and if you don't get benefit from giving your energy, you end up drained. I also learned this recently, but glad I did. Yes, you will feel drained and you won't know why you're drained. Because, there are particular situations. Let me see. There are particular situations. Oh, I think there's someone. Is it in our confession? I don't know where I read it. But there was someone who was saying that they've experienced so much peace since they began being celibate. And they don't understand why, because sex was also really it was fun. It was really fun. But at the time, they enjoyed sex. They love having sex. But since they went celibate, they've found some peace that they just never experienced while having sex. And they really can't put a finger to why that is. So I think that's what Ivana is saying here. If you're not getting benefits, if you're not benefiting from the exchange, I don't want to call it exchange because it will sound so transactional. If you're not benefiting from sex, it will drain you with time. You will feel like you're just not, it's not cute, it's not fun. You continue to say, I think it's more of being intentional with who you are sleeping with and not about the body count. Also the kind of treatment you receive and accept. That's exactly it. That's what I was saying. It's the caliber of people you sleep with that will tell us how you love yourself. Because if you're sleeping with someone who is inconsistent, or rather the type of people you're sleeping with, like I gave the example of going out one time and then you go on a one-night stand with someone who you just met at the club. I'm like, you haven't considered this person's personal hygiene. You haven't considered this person's, personal values. Like whatever it is you're going to have sex, you don't know what it is they're going to do with you or to you. And then you haven't considered things like their health. Because I know we only look at HIV, AIDS, and what else do people look at? HIV, AIDS, and pregnancy. Okay, fine. I just learned you can still get HPV even when using a condom. What do you mean? So I've heard about herpes. I've just learned that you can get cavities from someone else. The way me, I've not eaten sugar my whole life, and I have no problem with my teeth. You want to tell me small kissing can give me cavities? So I think if you're not considering those things, my biggest ick is usually hygiene. If I've just met you, I don't know what your hygiene practices are. And for that reason, I'll keep off for a bit. But I'm just thinking, if those are things you haven't considered when you're going to sleep with someone, it means there's something about yourself that you allow yourself, you allow yourself to experience things that are not nice. And that shows it. Just look at the person you've allowed yourself to have sex with. And that will tell you whether you like yourself or not. And this person could be one person. So it's not about the body count the way Ivana has said. It could be one person or it could be multiple people. Because I don't want to give examples. I don't want to name specific men. Because if you name, they will start to show you fire. It's the way you say, my man could never. And then they start nevering like never before. Yeah, but I think I've seen people who have multiple sexual partners. But the sexual partners are a particular caliber and they treat them a certain way. So that person will never look in the direction of someone who maybe is not clean, someone who is not generous, someone who, like they have particular non-negotiables that they have with people they're having sex with. So it could be multiple people, but at the end of the day, there are people of a particular caliber who really treat them well. And then there's this one who has settled down with one person who is recording. Have you seen these relationships on TikTok where someone is recording their girlfriend or their wife and is like, unanuka maziwa, why do you smell like breast milk? You're embarrassing me in front of my boys. Girl, that girl has settled down with one man, but it shows there's something about her self-esteem that it's not exactly 100, and that is why that man can speak to her in that manner, even record it and put it out for all of us to now experience it. So you see where I'm coming with that. It's not necessarily the body count. It is the caliber of people that you are sleeping with. Kathy Liseche, you say, the moment you do the things men do, it's over for you. Just be shameless and do what makes you happy. Because you can have multiple partners and it's safe sex and with at least people who like you and love themselves. Hey, yes, that one is the one I was forgetting. Have sex with people who love themselves. Hey, I can't even stress this enough. Have sex with people who love themselves. This applies to dating as well. Date people who love themselves, and make sure even you love yourself. But then don't put up a list here of things you want. And when you start checking them for you don't check the boxes. So when you put down a list, you're like, I want someone who's caring, someone who's kind, someone who's gentle. Are you caring? Are you kind? Are you gentle? I want someone who's clean. I want someone who loves themselves, takes care of themselves. Do you take care of yourself? Do you love yourself? So this is a lot of self-work. When it comes to sex, it's a lot of self-work. Whatever you want from the other person, make sure that you are it as well. And I want to emphasize that sexual indiscipline applies to men as well. Because for the longest time, we've just been looking at, oh, she's a loose girl. Me right now, a man who is in every room with every woman, I just be looking at you sideways. Because what do you mean you lack the most basic type of discipline? And then you're going to say, and then men have the weirdest excuses. And I come from a polygamous family. Where in polygamy has it been written serial cheating? Polygamy is structured. We've talked about polygamy here before. Polygamy is structured. It's official. There is benefit for everyone involved. As you've slept with the whole of Nairobi. And I come from a polygamous family. Sit down. I said, sit down, kijana. Ivana, where you're saying, so true, 100. Where, luckily, standards have to be there and non-negotiables. Yes, I think also settling down early causes some of these problems, because I think self-discovery comes with age, plus self-exploration. I completely agree with you. And I usually I think every time I've been asked to advise or like to give just like a word of wisdom to the young people, my first one is usually there is time. The things I have learned like at 26, 28, 32, I'm just like, imagine if I was tied to someone by the time I was 21, 22. There's so many things that would have passed me. And that self-exploration stage is very important. You learning what you like and what you don't like. And then that self-love as well. It's something you learn over time, because especially for us as Africans, I don't think self-love is something that parents were intentional about teaching us. So that is something that you literally learn on the way. Shedding off your people-pleasing tendencies, unlearning some of the things that are not serving you generally, healing your trauma. All these things are things that will literally affect who you choose as a partner. And can you imagine having not had any of these lessons and then you've settled down with a partner like at 21, at 22? Me, I actually think up to 25. Don't be settling. Yes, you can be in a relationship with someone the entire time, sour, and someone within that age bracket, by the way. We will talk about that age gap again later. You will not tell me you are 30, you what? You want to date a 22-year-old. Let 18 to 24-year-olds date themselves. After that, I think 25 is now fair. You can date a 30-year-old, a 45-year-old, but dating below the age of 24, I don't know, me, I have a problem with it. I know it's legal age, but there's just a power dynamic there that we'll talk about in another podcast episode. Mark, let me try and read this. Rigante. Is that it? Did I read it right? Mark Rigante, or is it MC Rigante? Higher. You can date people who love themselves, but you end up being hurt at some point. You can date someone who loves themselves, but end up being hurt at some point. Here's the thing. Let us not attach particular things to immunity. Getting hurt, you will get hurt, no matter what. Like, that is something that it's neither here nor there. You will get hurt regardless. Because as human beings, we are not perfect. Even someone who loves themselves, they also have their flaws. There's some things that they probably will overlook. So it is literal work. Every relationship is literal work. So yes, you can date someone who loves themselves, but we can't say that now that negates you getting hurt. Getting hurt, you are just doing constant. Even us as single people, we just be chilling. And once in a while, unavunjwa tu moyo with some nonsense. So at the end of the day, like, getting hurt is not something that you can avoid. And now it's important to note. It's important to note while you go around, I don't know whether to call it scouting, Abby. How do you people get sexual partners? While you go around interacting with people, don't look at, I'm dating someone who's this and this and that so that they don't hurt me. Being hurt is not something that you can control. And sometimes it comes from your end and not them. It comes from an insecurity or an inadequacy that you have and not them necessarily. I have done on by Olive, which is my consultancy. I have done four videos that explain attachment styles. Okay. So if you look at those attachment styles, there's one which was the anxious attacher. The anxious attacher needs a lot of validation, needs a lot of affirmation. They need to be told, oh, you look beautiful. Oh, you look, that dress now. They need to be affirmed constantly. So you might find this one time, maybe your partner or the people around you are not having the best of days, and they just forget to affirm you or to tell you you're looking nice. And in this moment, you will feel hurt and you'll feel like, oh, they're not affirming me. They're not validating me. Then they don't love me. But you see that's an inadequacy on your part, and already you're hurt, and it has nothing to do with the other person. So I hope we also remember that as you interact with people, and even as you have your set of non-negotiables for people you're going to have sex or date, that does not negate being hurt. Being hurt, lazima. Iyo ni lazima. Even by your mother, by your friends. Being hurt, we cannot really avoid. I think I've lost a couple of guy. Okay. Ivan Awaweru says it takes time, 100%. Yes. And also, MC Rigante. I'll call you MC Rigante. I don't know, but it's Mark Rigante. Mark Rigante says, then again, age bracket 30 to 35 is where most people don't know what to do with relationship. You feel like getting into one, same time, you feel it's kind of mzigo. I don't know if you're getting me. I get you. I 100%. Because I remember even with friendships, I was like, I don't want to work. And people in relationships tell us, relationships are work. Like you have to wake up and choose this person again. And you're starting to learn, you're starting to, I don't know what to call it. You're interacting with this person very intimately. And this is someone who has a different background from you. They had different upbringing. They have different temperaments. And you can imagine trying to incorporate your lives together. It's so difficult. Yes, Nimzigo, but then love is so beautiful. Everyone wants to be in a relationship. Imagine, I totally get you. And you really crave the safety, the security of a relationship. But then when you get to it, it seems like a lot of work. So I really haven't clocked that. I really don't know what we can do there in the relationship. And 30 to 35 is mad. Yes, Apple may clock kabisa. 30 to 35 is mad business. And I don't know who told us that at 30 we will have it figured out. Hey, Nataka Munyombe. I'm going through a lot of problems. 30 to 35 is a tricky age, and I really get you. Sometimes you want to be in a relationship, but then it comes with particular baggage. And also right now, you've learned a lot of things at the age of 30, so you're also quite cautious. You get into places, you also have trauma from past relationships or what you've seen other people go through. So you find yourself quite cautious when you want to dip your feet into like relationships or just being intimate with someone. So I totally get it. Kathy Liseche, you're saying, Ata Ruto is hurting. Ata Ruto is hurting, is out here a good one. He's hurting us. By the way, you can never escape hurt. Okay, escape Ruto and say, my friends, I'll do the thing for you. The ultimate equalizer. Kathy Liseche, you continue to say, everyone, the single, the relationship, everyone is hurting. And Mark Rigante, my lord, Mark Rigante, it's MC Rigante. Okay, Eldoret's finest event MC. Eldoret is my, I just call it hometown. I really call it hometown. It's all I relate to. That's where I grew up. Oh, wait, is it Rigante? You used to do activations at Safaricom. Is it you? I don't know if it's you. This was around 2016, thereabouts. Oh, I tell you if it's you. Oh, it's nice to see you. It's nice to see you. The Dormar, Mark Rigante, is he Irish? Tumesikia anatoka Eldoret. The Donmar, how are you doing? It's been a minute. It's nice to see you. Even now, where you're saying the work is realizing people are wearing masks. Now we date the masks instead of the real people. It's tough. But then how do you identify that this is a mask and I need to, and how do I know the person behind it? Because if you're wearing a mask, I might as well just go. I also don't have the time to shed off this mask for you, Abby. So yes, if people are wearing masks, how then do we deal with that? If you're just coming in, we are talking about sex in relation to self-worth and sex as a currency. This is the In All Honesty podcast that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live with me, Oliver Rao. But if you missed the live action here, do not worry. You can always find it from tomorrow onwards on all streaming platforms. So whether it's YouTube, Spotify, AfriPods, Amazon Music, you'll find it there and you can be able to listen to it. So we're talking about sex in relation to self-worth. And this began when Randoms by Mary asked, how come, does it mean that a woman who sleeps around does not love themselves? Because the society has normalized a 22-year-old settled down with one man, with one boy. Because why are you settled? Is the person they've settled with also 22? That's a question. But yeah, a 22-year-old girl has settled down with one man, and that is more society. That's something society accepts. When a 28-year-old sleeping around with someone they are not necessarily married to, or one person that is theirs, then they are deemed not loving themselves. So those are some of the things that we were trying to talk about, and there's a lot. It's really layered, but me, I insist. Sleeping around is not the problem. It's not the body count. It is the caliber of people you're sleeping around with. You, even with that, you're one person. You could still not love yourself because we see how you're getting treated, but you want to lie to us because I'm just sleeping with one person, I am better than someone else who's sleeping around. They're sleeping around with better caliber of people, so they could love themselves more than you. The Don Mario saying, I'm doing well, thanks, you never know. It's a mask until it drops. But I don't know. I think this is why even dating right now is so difficult. Because what do you mean everyone is wearing a mask? Like, why can't we just show up? I know we are hurt. Ivana Waweru is here. She's also, what is it called? She's a therapist. She's a psychologist. Abi, talk to her. Heal your traumas so that you can start approaching people openly. Because as someone who's been single for a while, the first question people usually ask me is, who hurt you? No one hurt me. Imagine no one hurt me. I'm just keen to show up. Even if someone had broken my heart, if my previous partner had cheated, I'm not going to go and meet my next partner with that trauma for my previous partner cheated, even you'll cheat. I beg, this is a new person. This is a clean slate. We start again. If this person does something odd, I beg, it was them. It's not the next person I go and meet. So for me, I've decided to be open like that. And I don't carry past baggage to my next relationship. My next interaction is clean. We are starting afresh. I'm not being like, they'll say something or do something and I'm like, even my previous partner did that. No. This is an independent person. I will judge them as themselves and then move if I want to interact with them or not. Even where you're saying, I didn't know you are now doing the podcast on IG. Cool stuff. You are a true media girl. Tell them I should come for consultation. Please, follow my Olive, book very fast. I have podcast consultants. Yes, so the Instagram allows me for it to be interactive like this so that I don't go on a 2-hour talk alone. Ukweli, if I start that, now, nataka munitie Ivana Waweru na psychiatrist, because no way. I don't understand how radio people do it, but interaction is really beautiful. And you also get thoughts from other people. So that's why I decided to do it on IG Live. And MC Rigante, you are saying, yes, it's me. Used to work at Safaricom, and I know you, number one fan. Yeah. This is an OG. Back to a question, how do we deal with denial, especially after heartbreak? I would have quickly said go into therapy, but there's so many ways of therapy. And I think the first thing about healing or trying to change something about yourself is the intention to change it. So me, I'd say it's therapy. It's therapy in one way or the other. It has to be therapy, but it's not therapy for, the way we think of therapy is sitting down with a counselor and talking to them and them helping you unpack particular things. Therapy can be as easy as starting to journal, so long as you know the intention. Vile umesha sema tu hapa, you already know, I want to deal with denial after a heartbreak. So there's so many resources. Check online. How can steps to help me deal with heartbreak, whatever. If it's journaling, start journaling every day. Like there are things you can do at home that should help you get better at it, or not get better at it, but basically heal whatever hurt that you have. But at the end of the day, it's usually therapy, whether it's self-therapy or talking to a professional, I think self-therapy is the intentional one where you do things yourself to get out of that foggy space, or talking to a professional. But at the end of the day, anything you need to unpack, you will have to unpack with a therapist, not a therapist, with therapy. MC Rigante, you continue to say, nowadays cheating is normal, especially this generation, even married people who have wedded. In fact, the people cheating are the married ones. Let me not hear the false accusations against the single people. We don't care for you guys. We really do not care. No one even wants you. You are baby daddy of sijui how many people. No one wants you here in the single community. You wedded people are cheating amongst yourselves. And I don't like, as much as cheating has been normalized, I don't like it. And I refuse to accept the normalcy of cheating. I am very open-minded. I am open to, what is it called? A polyamorous relationship. I'm open to an open relationship. I'm open to a polygamous relationship, polyandrous relationship. There are so many structures, but you cannot tell me that you will get out of the confines of me and you having made a vow to ourselves and be like, you're my person, we are exclusive. And then you're just going to sleep with whoever and whomever out there. And I also said, while we were talking about this caliber thing, I also said, remember when I told you, me, when my ex, I found out he was cheating, I wasn't mad about the cheating. I just remember thinking, Kijana, even you don't protect yourself. Like, I was mad because me now I have to go like get tests and all of that because now I was chilling at home. I'm not cheating you. You've gone out here and done the most. But I thought to myself, okay, Sawa, but can't you protect yourself? Like, don't you care about yourself? And let's not even go into the many at CG. You can get cavities, CG, you can get HPV. Let's just go with the general ones, HIV and pregnancy. You didn't think you want to protect yourself from those things. You didn't think, I don't want to be a baby daddy to a random someone out here. I'll be running in children's court every day being asked for child support money. You didn't think I could catch HIV AIDS. And you're sleeping with multiple people without a condom. Kijana, you don't love yourself. And me, for that reason, I'm out. Hey, no way. Hujipendi. And it shows. The Donmar, heal your wounds so that you don't bleed on the next person. And also, even as people are healing so that they don't bleed on others, also recognize that, because I see this statement being used a lot, also recognize that some people might be bleeding and it's not intentional that they are bleeding on you. So someone might have been hurt and they're really dealing with it. And you're the person who they get to interact with through that hurt and they end up hurting you. And I see a lot of people who are quick to come here and say, he was a narcissist, No, that man might also have been hurting and he was also dealing with it and you were like collateral while he was dealing with it. So I also want us to clock that, not when someone is hurt and is dealing with something, don't be the savior. If you don't want to be bled on, clock it early and distance yourself if you don't want to support this person through their heart. But not everyone is a narcissist. Not everyone has the intention to come and hurt you. Sometimes people are also dealing, even the same way you are dealing with your own things, and sometimes you lash out or something will happen. And it's not because you hate that person that you've lashed out at or the person that you've hurt. It's only because you are dealing with your own demons. And while during that fight, the people next to you are sort of collateral damage. So there's a lot. I said sex is so layered. This conversation is so layered. But Ivan Aweru says, masks are unconscious. Oh, okay. Even me and you could have them when we are dating. It is those defense mechanisms, unconscious triggers and projections, etc. Oh, okay. It's hard to know others' masks, leave alone our own. Okay, when you put it that way, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Then I guess the only way to now deal with this, because you're saying the masks are unconscious even to us, is picking people who love you. You've seen how people usually say, date people who like you, have sex with people who like you. I think that's very important. And let me tell you, I went on this 3-year celibacy journey without planning to, because I was just like, the next time I want to have sex, I don't want to be treated funnily. Like me, as much as the idea of casual sex was it was discomforting for me. And me, it was only because the morning after sex, I want to still chill. I want to still dilly-dally around and maybe eat breakfast, order in, whatever, like have a good time the next morning after sex. The idea of after sex and then it's like, oh, so you gotta leave, Mama Fuana come, or I gotta get to work. Those things are just unsettling for me. I feel like I wanted sex to be a good experience. Think of sex as a vacation. Like when you're going to have sex, let's say you've blocked your weekend to meet your person, it's going to be like a staycation. It's a good time. So me, this sex for doing and waking up and running and going and whatever. And sometimes you're unsure. You don't know if this person wants to meet you. You have to read between the lines throughout. I said, I beg, unhand me. I gotta go. I gotta be somewhere else. Let me see if there's something, other thoughts that have come in. Badre M94. Hey, you have names, guys. You have names. What is your perspective about soul ties when it comes to sex? We live in a very spiritual world. I am not a soul ties person because I'm not spiritual anyway. I don't know how that concept works, but I know. So this could be tied to it. Maybe it's just me who doesn't believe in the concept, but this is probably it. Have you ever had experiences or had people say when they were sleeping with a particular person, they just had bad luck? You get late, you miss a job, your shoe, the heel of your shoe breaks while you're walking. Like there's people you're involved with in your life and you're just in constant inconvenience. And the minute you cut them off or the minute you stop interacting with them, your life sort of just comes back to peaceful, normal life. So I don't know if that could be related to soul ties. There are people you could be sleeping with and you're just constantly, the way Ivana said, if you're sleeping with someone who you're not getting benefit from, you are drained. So you might find that whenever there's this person that you're sleeping with, you're constantly drained. And then there's this person who, when you sleep with, it seems like things work out, like the days are brighter, life is good. I don't know. I really don't know the science behind it. Can other people tell us about what they think about soul ties? But that's the closest I could come to that concept for me, because I'm also not spiritual and I just have never been interested in how soul ties work. But I feel there's an element to it that is real. Yes. So anyone else in the live, please tell us what you think about soul ties. It's a very, very interesting topic. And yes, we do live in a spiritual world. Ivana Waweru, you're saying, thank you, Olive, for that. Yes, the labeling is unfair, especially the narcissistic part. I feel we all have narcissistic tendencies depending on the situation. That is exactly true. And while I was watching, I think it's called Psychology Support. There's this channel on YouTube that brings different specialists. And there's one who I think was a psychiatrist. I'll remember. And if I remember, I'll link it in this description. And that psychiatrist said narcissism is actually a spectrum. So there are some people who could have narcissistic tendencies, and all of us have it actually. You could have tu tabia moja mbili hapa zenye ni tabia za narcissism, but then it goes, by the time, it's a whole spectrum. By the time it gets to someone who's actually a narcissist, that's psychosis. It's mental illness. It's not bordering. So narcissism is actually is it a mental disorder or a mental illness? I still don't know the difference between the terms, but yes, it's a spectrum. All of us have one narcissistic tendency here or there. So it could be a tendency or a characteristic, and then it could be, full blown. Like this is someone bordering narcissism, or maybe they even have maybe another mental disorder where narcissism is one of them. So those things also overlap. We'll do a whole another podcast episode on mental disorders. We already did one with actually Ivana Waweru. Check season 3. We did one with Ivana Waweru and Kasmuel Makoure. Don't cancel me. It was before the Mandamano, please. It was before. Yes, I had Kasmuel and Ivana and we talked about mental disorders. It's a very interesting podcast. So it's on season 3. Was it episode 5 or 4? Again, I will link it. I'll link it in the description when I post this. I hope I remember to. The Don Mario saying, Mama Fuana come. What the hell? Okay, I'm never coming back. You know, all those places where you have to, after my night with you, I have to clear out everything and make sure I don't leave even my lipstick. No way. Me, I want to have sex in peace. I want to have sex in a place that I know this is my person. I can come back the next time. I can drop by if I've forgotten something. What is this? Tunaishi kama, hey, tunaishi kama mbogi genje na ati we are exchanging the uglies. No way. Ivana Waweru, sorry, I've missed one here. Ima Blessed, you're saying sex is exchange of energies. That's exactly what Ivana said when you were beginning. Yes. And she said, if you're not getting benefit for the energy that you're giving out, you will feel drained over time. Ivana Waweru, you continued to say, no, that was the 50-50 about soul ties too. Oh yeah. But I think negative energy drains you, then it seeps into your life and vice versa. But that is true. Negative energy drains you. I can't speak from a relationship point. I can. I remember the last relationship I was in. Do you know I had a hunch? That's how stressed I was, and I didn't know I was stressed. But the people who saw me were like, why are you hunching? I was hunching forward, so it looked like my back is carved up here. And there's this one time a friend of mine was doing one. I don't know why they weren't even doing a massage. They just came to my shoulders and they were like, damn, your shoulders are so tight. And It's only then that I realized later on when I was looking back after I have some information and all of that, and I'm like, damn, like things, your mental will affect your physical. So that's something you have to be very careful about. So when we're talking about soul ties, that could be it. And everyone here is agreeing that sex is energy. It's all energies and you're exchanging energies. So if you're exchanging energies with whoever, let me just pray for you. I'll pray for you alongside the country because I don't know what else. Kathy Liseche, you're saying, speaking of which, you've reminded me of a relationship I was in. Lost 2 phones, my TV was stolen within a span of 1 year. Within a span of 1 year. And after it ended, I have never lost any phone. Na venye nililia, na vile nililia, shindwe. These are things that we experience, but it doesn't clock. When it's happening, it doesn't clock. But there are people who, when they come into your life, you just start experiencing random things that don't make sense. Anki Pole, Kathy Pole, I'm sending you so much love. I'm sending you so much love, Batnifan. I've never lost my phone. Your TV getting stolen is wild. Do you know, like, what are the odds? What are the actual odds? Hey, anyway, we've established its energy. Sex is really energy. Be careful who you sleep with, because what? What do you mean? What do you mean? If you're just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live. And today we were talking about sex in relation to self-worth and sex as a currency. So we've talked about sex in relation to self-worth a lot. And I think we've covered mostly all of it. And let me just read through the points I had here. Does sleeping around mean you don't like yourself? We've established, no, it's not. It's just who you're sleeping with. If you're sleeping with someone who is behaving some type of way, they're not treating you nicely, they themselves don't love themselves, they're not clean, they don't take care of themselves, that shows you don't like yourself. So mostly it's the caliber of people that you are sleeping with, even if it's one person. And not so much the number. So you could be sleeping with one person who is not a very good character, and that shows you still don't like yourself, even if it's just one person. Does this lack of self-love apply to men? In my opinion, Ebu guys, tell me, in my opinion, men who sleep around are not okay. Me, I'm just like, if you're the kind of man who is a serial cheat, there's something there. There's really something there. You could have low self-worth even with your one partner. That's something that we've talked about. It's not necessarily the number of partners. Serial cheating or sexual rampages is linked to something deeper. Are we ready? Are we ready, Wena? Badre M94, you're saying, energies are always right, even if you are looking in the wrong direction. That is true. That is true. And I don't know, was it in the 4th chapter of my book, Can I Unsubscribe? I actually write about this. How to clock fake friends. And usually the first thing will be a feeling. Your gut feeling will tell you, this person is not okay. Start checking into it or just start noting. Even however you're saying yes to men too. I think men sleeping around is trying to prove something to themselves. Go heal. Okay, let me address this gently, because we are going to talk about now abuse, sexual abuse. Here's the thing. People who have an unhealthy attachment to sex, or rather have sex with, there's a particular pattern that when you are having sex with, it's actually linked to sexual trauma. And I think men are very quick to say, oh, no, I came from a polygamous family. But did the house help touch you when you were a small boy? Was someone playing around with your wee-wee when you were a small boy? Have you experienced things like low self-esteem because you are not the ideal type of handsome at a particular time, maybe in your puberty, and you didn't unpack that, and now that you have some money to your pocket or you have some influence, you feel, now I can get the ladies, and it's sort of trying to prove to yourself that I'm not the ugly boy from high school or the ugly boy who couldn't get a girl from, yeah? So there's actually, the 2nd chapter of my book called Am I Ugly? Actually addresses that. It addresses a boy who has low self-esteem and now is working to have money and like build the body. And you can do all of that, but at the end of the day, you haven't unpacked what hurt you. So this sexual rampages, this serial cheating, it's linked to something. It's something deeper that you need to unpack. And for women, I address it. I am so keen that we sit down and look at this. Of all the women in my life, like if I sit down like this and think of all the girls I know, all of them who I know personally, they had an element of sexual harassment or sexual abuse as children. So you can imagine women are navigating this world already carrying sexual wounds. And that is something we do not acknowledge. And even when we do, I think also the way the world has treated us generally, especially when it comes to shame, sex, our bodies, that is not something that we've been keen to unpack. But I also said there's a level of hypersexuality, or rather a part of hypersexuality that is also linked to, not hypersexuality per se, but okay, we'll talk about all of them. But there's a part of hypersexuality that is also linked to sexual trauma. There's a part of asexuality also linked to sexual trauma. So you have to go and unpack and figure out this relationship you have with sex. Where is it coming from? Because it's one thing to go about your day and just say, oh, I'm a liberated queen. I'm going to have sex with whoever I want. Girl, check it. Check it. There is something you have not unpacked, and it's a lot to ask of you, so you don't even have to unpack it right now. I just need you to unpack so that you're safe, because you'll put yourself in dangerous situations while still claiming that you're just liberal and it's okay and women can now have sex like men. Yes, but there's some parts of it, how you interact with sex like right now is linked to sexual trauma. And why this is important is because that means the first time, if all of us were introduced to sex or sexual behavior while we were very young, that means it was someone either grooming us, an adult abusing us. So the idea that sex was introduced to us already in a power dynamic, there was someone who was extremely more powerful than you. Can you imagine? That is the basis of sex etched in your mind, and you haven't unpacked it. And now you're an adult and you're interacting with people when the basis for you for sex is actually a power dynamic. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, so we need to look into how we interact with sex in relation to how sex was first introduced to us. And sexual trauma is real. I even said, I can even go as much as saying, even part of, what is it called? The Shira Sevens, what are they called? Hypergamy. Part of hypergamy could be linked to sexual trauma. Where sex for you, the way it was introduced to you, now sex to you is transactional. And so sex is given for money or materialistic gain. Okay. And it could be even things like fame, proximity to fame or something. So really think about how you're interacting with sex and really check if you could unpack your sexual trauma, and it will really help with your interactions right now. Because it's one thing to sit here and say, oh, the caliber of people you're sleeping with will show. But if we don't address the root cause, then this is just a conversation. It's just another conversation. It's just another podcast episode. But really, a lot of how we interact with sex is rooted in sexual trauma. I would say especially for women. But for men, I think it would come from, I think mostly the cheating and the sleeping around. That's what I see a lot from men. And I think, Ivana Waweru also did, she did a piece on how homosexuality might also be linked to sexual trauma. Not all of it, part of it. So realize that these things that I'm talking about, hypersexuality, hypergamy, asexuality, homosexuality, we're not saying all these things are caused by sexual trauma. We're saying there's bits and parts of it that could be, or one person could be there because of the sexual trauma in the past or sexual abuse in the past, right? So it could be one person, it could be a fragment of people. It's not necessarily that this is caused by sexual abuse when you're a child. So I hope you get the difference that I'm trying to put across. Kosi Mungai, you say sexual perversion. Sexual perversion, I think I've forgotten what it is. If I asked you for something, I've forgotten what it was. But do you mean, but perversion is just like a pervert. I don't know how to explain a pervert, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, where you sort of like relate things to sex. And perverts can turn the most innocent thing into something of sexual nature. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't remember the context of which I asked you for like sexual perversion. Please remind me if you can. The Don Mario saying, I knew a guy who would never let nyashi pite. Niache nyashi pite, kwani mene nugu. Made the rest of us feel like nugu. You are listening to Kenyan music. I love it. I knew a guy who would never let nyashi pite, made the rest of us feel like nugus for sure. But I kind of clocked that it was deeper than just surface level perversion. Yes. When this chasing of everything, there's something that, like, humans have preference. What are you telling me? You are going to have sex with a short girl, a tall girl, a big girl, a small girl. Like humans do have preferences. So when you're just sleeping with anything and everything, it's literally to prove a point. And I think you're trying to prove a point to yourself, to your younger self for something. So I hope men get the spaces to really unpack. I'm trying to get men on board on Buy Olive so that we can have activities for men, because I know that men don't open up to women. So it's very difficult for me to come here and tell you, oh, come, let's unpack, go to therapy, nini, nini. So I am trying to see if we could create spaces in Buy Olive where men can interact with men. I'll find you another man to talk to, not me. I'll find you other men to talk to and activities that you can do to be able to unpack these things so that you can heal, so that you can do it in your own way. Because I have actually come to realize that therapy for men could be different. Like men could go and break things for fun and somehow they'll feel lighter, and maybe they'll talk and there's a language that they use that I, as a woman, or rather even therapists generally who maybe are women, might not be able to really hold it. And I also feel like therapy is also very much, it's almost feminine. The face of therapy is almost feminine. So I'm trying to see what spaces we can do for men that will be fun for men, will be easy for men to open up. And I really hope we get to unpack these things so that we live in a better world. And I feel like as women, even as we try to improve ourselves so much, and I've seen this wave of misandry on TikTok, which I'm just like, okay, you can hate men all you want, but the fact that we still coexist with them is you people who continue giving birth, and you're giving birth to sons. So to bring them into a world where we hate men, I just don't think that's fair. I honestly, like, yes, we can hate men, we can fight with them, the adults. But what about my nephew who's 5? What about my nephew who's 10? Like, what have they done wrong? We're trying to create a world for them. Let's not be selfish and just be like, oh, we hate men. Yes, you gotta be cautious with men, but let that bile shouldn't go into everything that we are doing, so that we don't even create spaces for the generations that are coming. Let me see if there's one thought here. The Don Mario saying, Kosimungai, well, I guess there will be a lot of self-justification in there, so feeling dirty is saved for later. I must have missed then Kosi Mungai's comment. Kosi said, it was when you were saying about people who sleep around. Oh, okay, yes. Don't they feel dirty? Aki unauliza vibaya. Don't they feel dirty? And Don Mar is telling you, I guess there will be a lot of self-justification in there, so feeling dirty is saved for later. What happens when later comes? Kosi is asking the important questions. She's really asking the important questions, because you'll find even sometimes the next act of sex or cheating is to cover the guilt from the last one. So you're trying to numb the pain. The same way there's people using alcohol, cocaine, or whatever. Sex can also be something to numb the pain. And I've mentioned there's this book, Candle in the Wind, by Arnold Austin. He's a Kenyan writer, and he was writing, it was about grief. And while he was reading on grief, because he wanted to learn a lot about grief and death when he was grieving his dad, he found one story where there was a woman who, after they lost their dad, this woman went on a sexual rampage. That was sort of them numbing themselves. So let's not take sex lightly. Sex is heavy. Sex is heavy, heavy, heavy. So at the end of the day, I think some people might feel guilty. And that's what even Randoms by Mary was asking. Do we say, the way we say that women who sleep around don't love themselves? There are those who actually feel guilty for being like that, and they continue to be on this sex rampage just to numb the voices in their heads that are telling them, oh, you're dirty, you're not worthy, just continue. So at the end of the day, we all need to unpack. We really need to unpack. Emma Blessed, you're saying, Kosi Mungai Kwanza, you said it becomes a loop. Agree with you 100%, agrees with you. Emma Blessed, now you're replying to Kosi and you're saying men don't feel dirty sleeping around. Rather, they feel like it's an achievement. Even you'll find them bragging about within their circles. Even the achievement, we've said it comes from somewhere. Someone will say, oh, I come from a polygamous family, that's why I sleep around. The idea is to conquer. The idea is like sort of to conquer. But who are you conquering? Abi, we are not in a war, eh? There's nothing you're proving by getting all the women. So that already speaks to there's a trauma somewhere. There's someone you want to prove to. And a lot of the times for men, you want to prove yourself to your younger self who was probably abused, or to your younger self who had low self-esteem, or there's just something that happened. And now that you have the opportunity, the chance, or the resources to get these women, you're trying to prove to them that I got it. And I also do not know if part of it, as I've said, I'll just like get men to interact with men. I don't know if part of it is also like trying to get the validation from fellow men, because that's also important. As much as we want to shame people for wanting validation here and there, affirmation here and there, it's nice. Like even you, when you dress nicely, you turn to your girls and you're like, how does this look? It's not that you don't know you look smart. It would be nice if someone else said it. And if it comes from a girl, then you know, oh yeah, yeah. So it could be for men as well. And you see how men go and hit the gym. And usually when their fellow men see them, there's a level of admiration for it. So I understand the validation. So I don't know if part of it is just to get that validation from men as well. I really do not know. But yes, did I finish reading Emma Blessed? Emma Blessed, you say men don't feel dirty sleeping around, rather they feel. Now I don't know. This one I don't know. Ebu men, do you feel dirty? Akikosi, kosi anasema yak. Please, calm down. Do like this. Kosi unga amesema yak. Hey, we are not in Moabeg. The validation part is solid. Yes, maybe they want validation from their friends. Higher. Let's get into sex is a currency. And this one is a layered conversation. I think it's different for different fields and industries, but let's just try and get through it and see. Sex is a currency. I've said this when we're beginning the episode. Oh, if you're just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live with me, Olive Orawa. And so today we are talking about sex in relation to self-worth, which we have discussed at length, and also sex as currency. And that is what we're going to talk about next. Now, when we talk about sex as currency, I said in the beginning of the episode, for as long as we are existing with men, I feel like sex will forever be okay, maybe it will not forever be a currency. I don't know. Gen Z are really revolutionizing even the sex industry. Even the sexual space, Gen Z are revolutionizing it, and I don't know what to expect from the Gen Alpha. But I feel for us right now, as a millennial, me at 33, I really feel like sex is currency, even when we don't think about it. Sex is really currency. Let me just read this before we go on. The Don Mario saying, one time a guy told me I had a nice haircut. I ran away. I beg, what? I'm like, why? Why are you running? If it comes from a guy, I think it's nice, right? Like I think there's particular compliments to a man that if came from a man really are really good. Like if someone told you your haircut is nice, I think maybe your build, your body, I think that's really cool. Maybe the girl you've bagged, because you've heard of men who also just date buddies only because that validation from men. So you think you have a boyfriend. And him, he just wants, you a trophy. You a trophy, eh? And I keep saying sex is a currency. You don't hear me. Emma Blessed, you're saying men perspective on sex is so different from women perspective on sex. Yes. You'll only understand if you interact. Yes, if you interact more with them. I do agree. And even when you interact with men, you sort of still won't get it because our socialization as women is also different. So you might get what they're saying, but you just won't relate. What is this? Like, I don't get it. And it's because we were socialized different from them. Yes, meant you'll only understand if you interact with them. Yes, I got the typo there. Okay, let's get into sex as currency. I've said, so long as you're having sex with men, maybe the lesbians have it figured out, but for as long as you're having sex with men, genuinely, it's a currency. You're exchanging something for something. And I think why I think of it like that is, when I think there are so many instances, but if you intend to pursue a particular business, work, you're in a particular space, let me say you're pursuing something somewhere. I would urge you not to have sex with the men in that space. Do not have sex with people in a particular space where you're pursuing business. And this is because as much as you think sex is just liberation, we can go on with da. But there's a playbook to it. Think of it as this, the way Kosi has said, no, it's Emma Blessed who has said, men think of sex different from us. Think of it as this, you as a woman, when was the last time you ever switched off your brain and you're not thinking about anything? Like unaweza kaa hivi in utter silence and your brain is blank. I learned that men can do that. And it's not something that they do consciously. Then they're just programmed like that. They can literally close their brain. They can, when it's 5 p.m., end of day, closed. They can. And you can imagine how different now they are from us. So a lot of times when you're pursuing, this is to women, a lot of times, you'll be liberated as much as you want. But let's say you are pursuing sijui what let's say in the music industry or in the construction industry. Do not have sex with people in that space. It is going to heavily compromise your cards in that space. And as much as it might be someone you love, someone you care for, someone you're in an official relationship, but once you start that before getting the business, it's just going to go down the drain. Now, I will have to figure out the science behind it because I'll have to figure out how men are thinking. But at the end of the day, I have seen it happen multiple times where someone is just like, no, this is different. Like me and his relationship are different and this is just work. But the minute you have sex or the minute you intimately interact with someone within a space where you're going to look for money or opportunities or like grow your career, you've already killed that career. And I'm speaking about it from just observing multiple trends. Now, here's the other thing that I am sure about. This one I'm sure of. Men don't mix business with pleasure. The only way this can work is if you are first involved with this man and then the only way this can work if you are first working with this man and then you go and bring the pleasure later. If you started working together, maybe you're married, I don't know, you're having sex, you met first. No, you met first and then, no, I'm mixing myself up. Wait a minute. If you are working with this person, like, huyo CEO mwenye amepatikana huko kwa Cold Stone. Nimemiss ice cream. Or it was the Coldplay concert. Now you see those people started working together and then the affair came. That's going to be fine. But if you start with the sex and then the next day you come and present a proposal, I wanted to do this and that, a man's going to work with you. They're going to frustrate your efforts of getting that thing. And just because men sort of have compartments, that's how I'm thinking of it. Men mutaniambia if you agree. Men sort of have compartments, and the minute you slept with him before the business or whatever, he's put you in the pleasure compartment. And now you want to come and say you want to hop on to the business compartment. Hairewi kabisa, please. Let me see if there's comments that have come in before I go on. The Don Mario saying, Olive, he was staring. Nilikanyaga kubwa nikisoka. Si kwanza ungemwachia number ya your baba, please. Leave him the number to your baba. Why are you so mean? Maybe he was staring because he's never seen such good hairstyle in his life. He's seen beauty before, but this is a discovery. But M94, you're saying, hey, the only way a man can validate a man is through banter, not sweet words. And I get it. That's what I'm saying. I'll get a man to deal with men because you know what the language is, you know what the entire situation is. Banter only. Agree. Higher. So, I was talking about compartmentalization. So when it comes to sex, those are the things that I'm talking about. It's always a currency with men. It's always a currency. Business and pleasure do not mix for men. So when you start out having sex with a man or interacting with a man intimately, and then you'd want to pursue particular career goals or something in that very same field, you will find yourself getting very much frustrated. And one could be because this man has put you in the pleasure compartment and it's struggling to transfer you to the business compartment or mix them together. The other thing, there are men who, once they've had sex with you, they sort of just now, what is the word? What is the word for kudharau in English? They don't deem you fit of like interaction with them anymore. I don't know how to explain this to you. But what I have seen is men will have sex with you and now they just think, she's not all that. Like there's an element. Nimeshindwa kuiput to words, but if someone can, please help me. A man will sleep with you and now they just don't see you fit to interact with you that way. Now they think of you as lower than. And you'll find, now this interaction is very common with, do you have a friend who's very business, is in a masculine energy? So you'll find that the way your boyfriend interacts with that friend of yours is very different from the way your boyfriend interacts with you or the man you're sleeping with. When they meet this friend of yours who's all business and no play, you'll see a level of respect. You'll see a level of even conversations that they'll have is different from the conversations he wants to have with you. So you'll find a man who has had sex with you or basically you've had intimate relations. You might find that when he's with you, even when you start talking about business or when you start talking about developing yourself, he sort of switches off. He's not interested. He's only interested in you talking about Oh, I'll wear this lingerie for you. I'll da 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 da. So that's why I say sex is currency, and it's in the most little things. It's so little. And I'll just tell you, avoid having sex within where you're supposed to get your food. Okay? That's the easiest way. And then if you're going into hypergamy, I've seen a lot of you, you want Shira 7 life. It's okay. Oh, it's okay. But you have to be extremely smart going into that life, because you also need to know that hypergamy, marrying for money, I'll say money. Marrying for money, as we've said, kidogo, it might be rooted in sexual trauma, but also marrying for money speaks to you having to demean yourself to this man. Like, you will have to be what they say you are, especially if you don't come from the same social status. Usually when people marry for status and money, it's within two powerful families, okay? But if an extremely rich man, proper rich man, has come and he says he loves you, there's going to be a power dynamic. Yes, this man loves you. He'll do everything he wants for you. But there's going to be a power dynamic that you will operate under, whether consciously or not. So that is why I'm saying sex is currency. Like, sex is currency in so many ways. But I'm struggling to put it to words. But I've had so many experiences. And maybe through my psychoanalysis series on By Olive, I will try to highlight some of them. If something comes to mind, or I see a story that shows that dynamic, I will tell it to you. But sex is a currency. People don't want to accept it. People are like, we're in the sexual liberated age. Women can now have sex like men, da 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 da. But when it comes to where you're going to make your money, where you're going to get your business, where you're going to build your career, really limit sex. Really limit sex in that space. It's really, really going to compromise on what you will achieve in that space. Because as much as we say women have now reached where men are generally, but do you realize that men are still majority decision makers, majority policy makers? You get. So at the end of the day, we might say we've had the same rights and access to things as men, but systemically, it's still the men who basically make the decisions on who gets what. So at the end of the day, they still sort of hold the power in this dynamic that we have. And I hope I'm making sense, but I know for a fact, don't mix business with pleasure. In an ideal world, it wouldn't, but for now, men more than women stand to gain from sex. Men stand to gain from sex more than women do. I will now take all the opposition if you think otherwise. But as I've described, the power dynamic, even systemically, is something that we have to be aware to. And I'll just tell you, because what I'm talking about might also be very layered, I'll just tell you very fast some of the things to watch out for. If someone is extremely rich and interested in you, the dynamic is going to be you are an escort, they are your sponsor. So think of it like that. So if you ever get to a point where you now want autonomy, you now want to speak for yourself, you want to pursue a particular business, you want to that might be a challenge. So that's something to keep in mind. Second thing to remember, if you have sex with someone within the business industry, or before you present a particular proposal or something that you want to work with them with, that's going to be very difficult, because the man has already put you in the pleasure compartment, and it will really struggle to transfer you to the business compartment, because they don't mix business with pleasure. And for now, you are the pleasure. I don't understand why you want to come now to this side and start working with me, okay? But in the sense where you were first working together and then went into business, and then you were first working together and then started having sexual relations after, that is a dynamic that might pass. And you usually see that's where even people rise up the ranks using sex, because we worked together first and then we introduced the incentive for sex later. So that makes sense. But if you start with sex, you're really going to struggle to now move to business. Yvette Wanzu, hey, good morning. You say there's a familiarity that intimacy brings that men can't get past. Yes. Let me tell you, Yvette is so good at putting thoughts to words in such a short statement. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. They're now familiar with you, and I don't understand why you now want us to work. I can't even think of you working with me now. You are in my bed. You are in my bed. You're not in my boardroom. Okay. So just remember these things. And within your industry, avoid. If you're in the music industry, go date in construction there. If you're in construction, I don't know, go date in the music industry. It will save you a lot, because there's unspoken interactions about sex that will really affect your general life, especially where you're getting your money. where you're getting your money, don't play with intimacy. Do not play with intimacy. Badre M94, you're saying, for most men, before they sleep with you, you already know what's the end goal. Sex, somehow cut short their chase. So they jump to another chase. That's another perspective. Oh yeah, that is something I actually saw on another podcast. And it was actually a man who said, there are men who really like the chase. It's not so much the keeping that they like. So they'll chase. Once they get you, hiyo imeisha utamu. Higher next. They need to chase again. So you might think you are very valuable for being chased like that, but it's just a man who really has a kink for chasing. And that also is linked to sexual trauma. So we go back to sexual trauma and unpacking. At the end of the day, you will not escape unpacking your sexual trauma. Anything that you're involved with when it comes to sex that is just odd, I promise you, is coming from somewhere, and we need to find the root and unpack it. But for women, clock that there are men who like chasing and not necessarily keeping. So when he chases you, he's treating you nicely and all of that, and then it gets to a point when he completely disconnects, and now you're like, he has changed. He hasn't changed, Abi. He just Kipchoge. He likes to run, Abi. He de chase, steeple chase. Labda anaitwa Kipto. Anachezanga tu steeple chase. And now he's caught, and he's like, okay, I need to chase the next thing. Yes, it's rooted in sexual trauma, and that man needs to unpack, but it's not your job to now sit here and be like, he's changed. I want to know what happened. Maybe he's just a chaser. And the faster you clock it and distance yourself and be like, okay, another one bites the dust, you move on, okay? So I think it's important for women to clock this, because I see women drowning in there. He has changed. He wasn't like this. He used to love me. And that's when you start to doubt yourself, and you start to think it could be something I have done. And once you go that route, I don't know for you. So you have to be very keen, but sex is currency. There's always an exchange for it in one way or the other. And for as long as you're having sex with men, be very careful. You have to be extremely calculated. And I usually say men are calculated. And the things that men do, I want to state today, the things that men do that we are out here making podcasts for, those things are not bad things. Okay? Men calculating every move so that they can wring out every benefit from a particular situation, it's not a bad thing. You too, start doing that as a woman. Make sure whenever there's an opportunity, unakama kukamua, even ng'ombe was found shaking. Just wring out every benefit you can get from whatever situation. Calculate. Men are very calculative. Something that won't give them that much benefit, they won't invest as much in it. It's not a bad thing. It's a very logical move to make. It's something that you're even taught to do in business. So as a woman, instead of crying all the time, what they're doing is not bad. Just adopt it for yourself. Even you, when you realize this relationship is not beneficial, it's not serving this and that, 1 + 1 is equaling 0, and I need to make 2 shillings. No, I'ma leave. So be calculative. Some of the things men do are, yes, we term them as selfish, but in real sense, you should be selfish too. The entire idea of you healing your traumas and putting yourself first is so that you know the moments when you need to choose yourself instead of always drowning with people. And I know women have been socialized to always hold on and save and be everyone. But at the end of the day, that selfishness that men have, just sit down, write your notes, and start learning. Just learn. It's not a bad thing. It is just something that you don't agree with because of also the ethics that we've basically been taught. But learn from men. Learn from men. It will save you so much. Also, restrict access to sex. Me, I will tell you, because this one is something I think also Randoms by Mary asked, why do we use sex as a reward and punishment? Again, if it's currency, it is. And I was just talking to my friends the other day, and I was telling, was it a friend? I was telling her that why we see there's an enabling of men's bad behavior by women still giving them access to their bodies. Because tell me why Mulamwa has done what he's done, and still, he can still get another woman, he can still get another child, he can still get coochie. So you see, we are sort of enabling because men know there are no consequences. I'll still find the next girl who will still provide me with all these things. Tell me why Two-Face Idibia started grooming a 16, 18-year-old girl, has had her for 10, 15 years or so, completely deteriorated her mental capacity and everything that she has in her, dragged her through just took her through the ringer, dragged her through the mud. And then after all this, in public, everyone has seen what's happening. After Two-Face Idibia has done that to Annie, there's still a woman who's like, okay, Me, I'm a B2 wife now. You get. At the end of the day, men still know I'll get another girl. I'll get another coochie. I can still get another child with someone else. So the fact that we've not restricted access to ourselves, bad men can continue to thrive. Let sex and access to yourself be a reward that you give to good men only. And also work on yourself so that you're a good girl. Because we can sit here and talk all day about, goodness and badness and all of that. But you yourself have not worked on yourself. You're the one also bleeding on people. You also unpack your traumas. So at the end of the day, everyone has to do the work. But for me, sex is currency. Some people do not agree. Please let me know if you're one of the people who don't agree. And I am happy to hear your side of the story. The Don Mar is saying, some of the women I've been speaking with lately are ready to offer sex for money or nice stuff. So it's like these men finding their type in terms of sex as currency. And I said, the money one is the one I like. I like the sex for money because it's very direct. Those ones we don't have to read between the lines. We don't know sijui nini nini. I just know, I beg. Yeah, I'm having sex with you. You're giving me money or you're giving me property or you're buying me a house. Very simple. I love the transactional sex. I love it. It's very direct. The one I hate is the one for power dynamics, sijui mental what. There's so much to unpack. There's so much reading between the lines. There's so much psychoanalyzing. This one is, yes, women have decided, okay, now, let me just give it for money. That's simple. It's very simple. I really like that. That one I can't deny. And you remember the funny story when I was telling you when I once lived with my ex, and after a few months, I was just like, hey, apana, give me the rent to pay. Like the rent is a bulk of money. Like let's say rent is 50 Gs, right? And then he'll pay all the 50 Gs. Me, I don't have to worry. Rent is paid for. But then, can you imagine me? I'm the one now dealing with, when is the house help coming? What are we eating for supper? Okay, I need to buy detergent in Asia. The little jobs, this small jobs, the decision fatigue was ridiculous for me. After living with that man, I said, me next time, give me the bigger bills to pay. Give me the rent. I'll pay the 50K and sleep. This idea of small things. So at the end of the day, I guess that's the same dynamic here, where if I'm coming to you to have sex with you and you're giving me money in exchange, it's very direct, it's very simple. But then if I have to read, do you like me? Are you just a chaser? Do you just want sex and then you'll not give me what I want in return? Is this sex or pleasure? Can we continue working together? There's so much to read in between. But it is what it is. So I want us to do a confession before we close. Hey, we've spoken for 2 hours straight. I want us to do a confession before we close, but I want to sip some water and I'll play some music for you before we get to the next part. So it's just one confession, and I think we've basically talked about everything. But if you're just joining, this is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live. And today we were talking about sex in relation to self-worth and also if sex is currency. But do not worry if you've missed the entire show. Don't worry, because we're almost getting to the end. You will get it on all streaming platforms from tomorrow onwards. So you'll get it on your Spotify, your YouTube, your Amazon Music, your AfriPods, and you can be able to listen to the whole show. I stopped selling the show because you guys are not buying anyway. So I'll figure out how else you people want me to keep the lights on. But anyway, let's go on a break. I said I'm introducing you to some girls that I met at the Spotify Equal event. Very beautiful musicians, and you people just don't know them. So here is Njiru. Her name is spelled N''Jiru. Such a beautiful song. So here we go. While I go and drink a little water. We are getting our music from Spotify. Beautiful scenes, beautiful girls with beautiful voices. Yes, Play KE. Calligraph was not joking about it, but we have really beautiful musicians. That's Njiru. And we also started the podcast with Amini by Hilda Watiri. Add them to your playlist. I hope you have a good time with them. The Don Mar, you are saying, yes, introduce us. Now wake up. Have I missed something? Who's introducing people here? Hata mimi nataka mtu. Guy, you guys have been talking here on the chat. Amanimi, for most men before they sleep with you, they already know what's the end goal. That one we had read. The Don Mar, some of the women I've been speaking with lately are ready to offer sex for money. Oh, yes, introduce us now. Wake a number. I will introduce you any day by yourselves. I don't want to play Cupid. I've realized people are making good money from Cupid. Playing Cupid, you connect people and then you make money. Okay, I just don't like the entire logistics of it, of getting this person, then going to introduce them to the other person and being like, yeah, it's just the logistics. I'm a lazy girl. I'm just a baby girl, okay? But yeah, what's happening? What's happening? Eh, the last true mouthpiece. What's happening? Eh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh, oh, eh. Are you singing? Badre M94. Yeah, baby lamb. You said you're going to introduce us to new girls from the Spotify gig. Oh, hapana, ilikuwa music. That's what you're talking about. Hey, Jamani. Hey, man. Man. I said I'm going to introduce you to, yes, the girls who are musicians. They were at the Spotify gig. Na nimwambia Amini by Hilda Watiri. Hilda Watiri is one of them we started the pod with. Now we've done E-Love by Njiru. Nimeshawa introduce. Ene nimtafute namba zao Spotify. Namuwa add kwa playlist kwanza. This is a good impression of a donkey. Hiya. This is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC radio show coming to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. And today we were talking about sex in relation to self-worth. And also is sex currency. So we've had a really good conversation here. Now this is our last part of the episode. We're just going to read a confession and then I guess we call it a day. So this person here says, I'm worried that my sexual history will make it impossible to find a partner. And this is exactly what Randoms by Mary was asking, because some people are even scared of their history. Like you don't want to tell people your body count or something of the sort because you'll be judged. Gen Z walisema, pelekeni hiyo mchezo huko State House. We don't care. I went through a period of hypersexuality for a few years following a few instances of sexual abuse and some other traumas. Largely, sex was a form of self-harm for me. I didn't think sex is shameful, but I was brutally slut-shamed from a young age, so I learned to associate sex with being worthless and trashy. I would do it knowing full well I'd feel bad about myself after. I've slept with at least 40 men, probably even more. I even had a webcam for about a week before I decided I hated it. Now, after extensive therapy, I'm in a completely different place than I was back then. I have compassion for my younger self. I really do. But I'm worried that potential future partners won't feel the same way. I feel like it will be really hard to find a man who will accept my sexual history, particularly the fact that I was a cam girl. I know it's not the worst thing in the world, but it makes me really sad to think about sometimes. And again, it comes up, the point we were talking about where hypersexuality could be linked to some level of sexual trauma. It comes up in this confession. And we've said hypersexuality, asexuality, bits of homosexuality, all of it could actually come from, and hypergamy as well. There's bits of it or people who could be in this particular space because of sexual trauma that hasn't been unpacked yet. So she actually says it. I went through a period of hypersexuality for a few years following a few instances of sexual abuse and some other traumas. Largely sex was a form of self-harm for me. So that was very new insight that I had never thought about before, that some people actually self-harm through sex. So because sex makes you feel bad, or rather there's pain involved in it for you, and that is part of self-harm. So this was very insightful to me. I had never thought of it as self-harm. And now thinking about the girl who was grieving by going on a sexual rampage, and she was grieving her father, not even like a husband or something. The girl who was going through that, it could be that she was self-harming, and actually sex is just self-harm. You can use it as self-harm. So that was very insightful for me. I had never thought about it that way, as well as something very common. All the girls who are called fast, step forward. Were you ever told you are growing up too fast? Kujeni mbele. When your boobs started coming out before everyone else, when your hips started showing, Do you remember? So she says here, I don't think sex is shameful, but I was brutally slut-shamed from a young age. So I learned to associate sex with being worthless and trashy. How many of us were indirectly called prostitutes by our very own mothers? Just because you were seen standing somewhere with a boy, just because your puberty hit and your features started showing. And there was this aggressive nature of, you are a whore, you're a whore, you're loose, And those things actually get etched in our mind. And that actually affects our view on sex. And I am so happy for this confession because it's literally captured everything that we've talked about today. But at the end of the day, I love that she says she doesn't think that sex is shameful, but whatever she had attached to it is that you're trashy, you're worthless. And so you see that having sex with multiple people is just like, I am worth nothing. And so she had to go to therapy to be able to unpack all of that. But at the end of the day, what she's now worried about is if her future sexual partners or her future partners will accept her sexual history. In my opinion, looking at some of the women who are very promiscuous, because we've seen this, and I think it's questions that people have asked, women who are very promiscuous end up settling and having the loveliest families. So I think a man who really likes you for who you are and what you have to offer, even the other way around, will be someone who won't really care for your sexual past. And why are we talking about your sexual past as well? I don't know. Maybe it's a conversation that will come up, but I don't think you also need to share. Able, let me know, guys. Do you think you need to share if maybe you are a cam girl or maybe you are a bit promiscuous in your past? Is this information you need to share with someone you're dating? Me, I don't think so. I think you should just like meet them and go from there on. What I did in the past, what has that got to do with you? I think the only thing we can talk about from the past is when it comes to debt. So that you don't get a partner and they have debt from here to Timbuktu, only for you to realize your finances will now be hard when you're starting to invest together. But everything else, I really don't think this idea of actually talking about your exes with your current makes no sense to me. Talking about your traumas, this is something that you've been told over and over. Do not talk about your traumas to the person you're dating right now. Yeah, I don't know. They could use it against you unless you have unpacked it and you also know how to handle yourself very well. But if you're still in a vulnerable state, do not share your traumas, especially those deep ones. Don't share your traumas with a partner that you're just starting to see. Let it be for your girlfriends. You'll share it there. The cookie 254, you're saying, in my opinion, why talk about your past? Exactly. What does it have to do with anything? Don't talk about it. And a partner who wants to know about your past, leave them. Trust me, you don't want that person in your future. Trust. Leave them. And you shouldn't know about their past either. Just leave it. Let's start from here. And here from where we are starting, you just need to know the important things. What's their health like? What are their values? What do they want to achieve? Let's just start from here. In the past is none of your business. So if someone asks for your body count, man or woman, get out. Is that, of all the things we could talk about, in fact, if you're dating in Kenya, of all the things we can say about Kasongo, you want to know about my body count on a date. Are you mad? Mesh Maina 5, you're saying, I don't think so, but also the past can come and bite you because the internet never forgets. Oh, okay. Okay, I never thought about that, especially if you're a cam girl or maybe you are making adult content on social media or on the internet. Okay, but I also think, what if you just mention it, and if they're not comfortable with it, then leave. Yeah, just don't be with them again. Because, by the way, the internet never forgets. Because it's like saying Alicia Kanini starts dating and then doesn't mention the type of content she used to make in her past. But the internet has it. So your man will come across it at some point. And if they're not comfortable with it, then I guess the relationship fails at that point. Or if they're not comfortable with being with you because of that past, then they'll leave. And maybe at this time, there's also children and all of that. So yeah, I see it. Maybe not discuss your ex and your sexual experiences from the past, but if you ever did anything on the internet, like creating content, maybe that mention. Just mention, at one time I was doing this, at one time I was making adult content. Yeah. So I guess that's important. I actually hadn't thought of it. The cookie 254, you're saying, they're talking about our ugly past when it's only necessary. Maybe saving a life. Maybe saving a life. Who are you saving in this particular situation? Because this is just your partner. So hopefully they've also unpacked their past. But okay, maybe in the beginning, when you're starting to know them, I would really advise, don't share your trauma. And also there's usually what is common, and I've seen, is people trauma bonding. I don't know if that's the definition of trauma bonding, where it's like, oh, me, I grew up, even my mom called me a hoe. And the boy is like, even me in high school, people didn't think I was good looking. And then because of that shared experience for low self-esteem, you start being fond of each other. That bond is not going to be very cute. So I think in the beginning, then don't mention it. Just don't mention your traumas. Just talk about the surfacey things, the normal things. If it's something that will affect the relationship, like something that will affect your character, that will end up affecting the other person, that is why we are saying unpack. Find whatever level type of therapy suits you, and unpack and make sure you're intentional. And I said, while you're making the list of the person that you want to date, make sure you can check those boxes as well. I am an emotionally balanced person. I do not lash out when I'm angry. So I want a partner who's emotionally intelligent. They don't lash out. They're not violent. You make sure you're not violent. You make sure you're emotionally intelligent. So at the end of the day, I think what we came to decide is that everyone should really work on being the best version of themselves. And if everyone swept in front of their door, the whole world would be clean, right? So me, I work on myself. You work on yourself. When we meet, we are two healthy people who will bring healthy children into the world, both become very good parents. Our children will be happy. Our children will go to school with other happy children, and the world will soon be a place where everyone is happy. So at the end of the day, work on yourself. But I don't think, I can't see how it should be saving a life when you're talking about your trauma, especially in the beginning. Save it for when it comes up later, or mejuana. You know, people who know each other so well that they're so compatible. Like, they're so compatible. Have you ever seen a dysfunctional, a very toxic relationship, and they just deserve each other? Imagine they deserve each other. They're just fine together in their toxicity. But M94, you're saying, your past doesn't define your present or future. 100%, I agree with you. The Don Mario saying, there was a matron of Wale dancers were church, the little girls, and I once had her say, the girls that were a little bit older than they couldn't dance anymore because mna mwagia nguo hizo vitu zenu. Mnamwagia nguo hizo vitu zenu. Or do you mean like the, what is it called? The discharge? Is it like discharge that the girls have when they get to puberty? But there's a lot, I think that one will just do with time, because there's nothing we can do right now. There was a lot of shaming of girls' bodies, or just shaming of girls in general by older women. When we were growing up, it was done by our parents, teachers, just general women, even friends of families. Generally, there was this element of older women. They really had some bitterness with young girls. So I guess that's the same thing. And I don't know if we can really change it right now. I think the only hope we have is that generation is phased out. And then this new generation, like the teacher Priscilla, right? Like, this new generation is the one now dealing with children. That's the only way, because all of us were now grown and we all dealt with those old bitter women. But it's so bad. But then again, it's not new. It's something that angeisikia hapo church, those older girls would hear it from church. And it's not like older girls, it's teenagers. They'll hear it from church, from the matron. They'll hear it in school from their teachers and the matrons. They'll hear it at home from their aunties and their mothers. It's a whole lot. Girls have just, tumeteseka. Nataka mutuombe. We are going through a lot of problems. Na si shida tulijiletea. Mboche Esther, you're saying, I think the reason why people try to shame past experiences stems from how they viewed their partners or sexual flings. They see you as the person they strung along and used. They see you as the person they strung along and used. So this is in relation to talking about your exes. Me, I just said, that's an unnegotiable. The minute I sit with someone and they start talking about their ex, why is that important? Aren't you over this person? Or what is it? Are you conquering? And we said we are not at war. Are you conquering things and now you need to tell us about your spoils? What is this you're talking about? It's okay. Yes. You strung along and you used. Now what? Should we give you a trophy? But it's for me, it's usually that one I clock very fast. When someone wants to start talking about their ex, clocked it, I'm out. Sorry, but you're talking to me now. What has your ex got to do with anything? The cookie 254, you're saying, some people will use your past to manipulate you. Actually, the past that you are guilty and can't control. That's why I was saying I'm very apprehensive about you sharing your traumas in the beginning. And for things like cam girl and all of that, you can mention it. And if you see they're uncomfortable, then that's not the person to be with. It's going to be a bigger problem later on. And we don't want you to get to the point where I'm very passionate about bringing children to the world. You guys have already brought children and then you start fighting over something that came up when you were dating. This is something that you'd have addressed a long time ago, right? So yes, I really do agree with you. There are people who can use, and usually... You've seen this post on social media where someone is saying, when you are sharing how hurt you were by CJ who and what, and your new man is taking notes. The fire they want to show you, they're literally taking notes of the limits that how far they can go with you. So if you say you had a partner who used to abuse you, even them, they'll start putting in, abuse here and there. They'll start insulting you here and there. They see where the limit is. So be very careful about sharing your traumatic past with the person you're talking to. But to Esther, or maybe to be in control of you. We've all said sex is actually a currency because of the power dynamic. And a lot of times men are obsessed with control. That's something else we'll talk about when it comes to the femininity and masculinity podcast. And men love control. Have you ever seen a man who'll come back? These people who are really happy, oh, my ex said he misses me. That man didn't even think of you until today when he saw your post on Instagram and decided to slide in the DMs and say, I miss you. It's just a control thing. So we'll talk about it in another episode. But yes, there's a power dynamic there. The cookie 254, you say. But sometimes people use their trauma as a way of soothing themselves. Don't soothe yourself with your trauma. That's where you go. That's the first thing I'll tell you. I'll tell you directly, do not soothe yourself with your trauma. My friends, you will not like it. In this Nairobi, you will not like it. Don't soothe yourself with your trauma. Try and pack and find other ways to soothe yourself, not with trauma. That one I'm very sure of. Badre M94, also another challenge can be if the person has not healed from the trauma, it can make the partner or his partner past. Another challenge can be if the person has not healed from the trauma, it can make the partner her past lifestyle. It can make the partner his past lifestyle. Do you mean if they've not healed the trauma, then whatever has happened in their past will just recur in this new relationship? Is that what you mean? If that's what you mean, then yes. And that's why I insisted on working on yourself. Don't work on saving other people. I want you to be different. No, you should unpack this. You should do that. That's not your role. And I keep saying, it is not your responsibility. Never will it ever be your responsibility to rehabilitate a grown adult. You're not rehabilitation center for adults. Do not do it. Do it only for yourself. You improve yourself, and while you're going around, you're only going to attach to people who've improved themselves. If you are toxic and refuse to unpack, go around and find a fellow toxic person, and that is your person now. As I've said, there are people who are toxic in dysfunctional relationships, like the way Cardi B and that Offset guy were for years. Imagine they were perfect for each other. Because you can come here and say, what about Offset and Cardi B? And you can say Offset. Cardi B was just as toxic. And I remember how people were worried for Chloe when she started seeing Burna Boy. And I was like, do you know these people have the same energy? They will show each other character development in equal measure. Leave people alone. So it's not always that every relationship is healthy. Some relationships are functioning because they are both dysfunctional and they both feed off the toxicity. So wanafana to Eve. The cookie 254, you're saying, how do people from their trauma, I don't know what you missed there. How do people dash from their trauma, though? If you mean heal, I guess you have to unpack therapy, whether it's self-therapy, you'll do it at home by yourself, whether you'll find a professional, there's different ways to therapize. But yes, these things you have to unpack. You really have to unpack. Brian Onsoti, you're saying Brian Onsoti is a very familiar name. We were together somewhere. Sometimes not knowing really does feel like peace, but I guess it depends on what's at stake. Yes, not knowing is really... leave it at that. Me, I'm just like, what I don't know can't kill me. And that's how sometimes I behave with my sicknesses. If I've just gotten, I caught a cold here, and then I'm supposed to go to hospital. If I go to hospital, they'll tell me, you have bronchitis. What I don't know won't kill me. But yes, again, it depends on what's at stake. The way I've said, sometimes you start dating someone, you have to find out their debts so that it doesn't affect your investment in the future. You were saying, let's go buy a house. You find someone has debt for 2 million and you are supposed to clear that before you can move forward. So yes, I understand. And Poetry with Doliat, very late, but I'll listen to the episode on Spotify. Do not worry. I'll upload it by tomorrow. You can be able to get it on streaming platforms. And the cookie 254, you say, in my opinion, some people who overshare with their partner, they are lonely and have no one to talk to. If you overshare your partner of how many years, your partner who you've been together for how long, that really depends. And you can start sharing with your partner the two secrets, some secrets that are deeper, you can start sharing with your partner later. In the beginning, don't. And when you start sharing with someone, if you need to talk to someone and you start dumping on the person that you're supposed to start dating, you're starting on the wrong foot. I don't know who you need to talk. Okay, then. What is it called? A book for emotional intelligence coaching. Talk to me. If it's something that needs a therapist, I will direct you to a therapist or talk to a therapist. And the fact that you don't also have friends to talk to shows something. Maybe you should not be dating without friends like that. If you have no one in the world to talk to, you are literally talking to a stranger who you intend to date and you're dumping all your traumas on them. Be very careful. Be very careful. Be very careful. The cookie 254, you continue to say, how do people heal from trauma? Oh, that's what you are asking. Unpacking the intentionality of wanting to disassociate from the pain is what will motivate you to continue unpacking. And at the end of the day, there's no easy way of doing this. It has to be therapy. You'll find whatever therapy works for you. You can go to a professional or you can choose to do whatever you're doing at home. I usually have a DIY therapy package, but it can't help you unpack. It will help you be able to pick apart particular hard days or when an inconvenient thing has happened. So that could help you for maybe situational uses. But then if you need to unpack something deeper, imagine there's no shortcut. It's just therapy. Badre 9M94, you're saying ChatGPT therapy. By the way, go and tell ChatGPT something and see. Just tell them how you're feeling. You see the answer they'll give you. ChatGPT, by the way, is therapy as well. Use ChatGPT. Try ChatGPT and then tell us. The cookie 254, try ChatGPT and tell us. If I don't share with my partner, who will I share with? How long have you been with your partner, Cookie? Don't share with your partner in the beginning. Do not share with your partner in the beginning. It will get to a point when you will feel you can share, but in the beginning, just don't. There's a time when your partner is actually your best friend and they know your ins and outs. It's when the relationship has progressed and now it's evolved. You're exclusive. You two know each other, trust each other. Trust has been built. Yes, there you share your partner. Everything now you can share with them. But then just when you're starting to date, avoid. The cookie 254, you continue to say, apart from sleeping, kwani partners ni wanini? Hey, jamani, wewe sikiza tu podcast sasa. Apart from sleeping, kwani partners ni wanini? Partners are for different things. I think we've done an episode where we've talked about, what have we talked about? Oh, you can also read the third chapter of my book. What is it called? Unlucky in Love. Yes, from there you'll be able to understand that there's particular situations where some people get together so that they can have a family. Some people get together so that, sleeping too as well. And then the intimate romance. Romance is a different relationship from like a friendship or like family. But at the end of the day, yes, your partner will be your confidant, but not in the beginning. I know you are really trying to make a case for this, but once you start, just when you're starting to date them, no, there are things you keep to yourself. And later on, once you've accumulated trust from this person, then you can continue to share. Because if we're going with your method of getting a partner and sharing everything with them, what if your relationship keeps falling apart and you're dating someone new every 3 months? Every 3 months, every 6 months, utakuwa unashare story yako trauma tena. So this and this happened to me. This is why, because and being in that stale space every time and you keep retelling this story also sort of drains you. It drains your energy. You're never happy. You're never in a good mood. So think of it as that. When you're just starting to date, imagine if you were to trauma dump on everyone you were talking to. Let's say in 1 year you had a couple of talking stages and you thought, this is going to be the person I'm going to date. Can you imagine how many times you've told that your trauma story and to how many people you've told it? So at the end of the day, yes, share with your partner. Your partner becomes your biggest confidant. And that is why even the vows for marriage have, for better, for worse, in sickness or in health. This is your person through it all. But once you get to that point, there's a particular point that you'll get to where this is your confidant. But in the beginning, no. Mazuri Stores, you're saying sometimes talking to a real person helps. Yes, it does help, but just not the person you're about to date and you still do not know them. You people are trying to make a case for this. I will not agree. If you're just starting to know someone, and this is even with friends, it's not even particularly just romantic partners. There are people you're starting to know. You can't go trauma dumping on everyone. And if you were to date 3 people in that year, every quarter ulikuwa unaanza story yako ya trauma tena. Every quarter you start your story for trauma again. I beg, try and unpack please somewhere else. Even if it's a therapist, even if it's ChatGPT, you will have to, and I know therapy is also sort of, it's not very cheap. So sometimes when you have the intention to heal, you will self-therapize. And I tell people I self-therapized from the age of 27 to around 30. I self-therapized. I didn't go to therapy. I was just intentional about being happier, choosing better relationships, not feeling bad about myself. And I was very adamant. I started putting things in place. I started setting up boundaries. I started journaling. I started setting assignments for myself to do. Like the next time I meet this person, I'll deny this. I won't allow them to make this and this type of comment. I was very keen. I gave myself homework. At the end of the day, if you're intentional about healing that part, you will do whatever it takes. And it's not necessarily just paying for therapy. And you could also pay for therapy. Every day you're paying money for therapy, but you still don't have the intention to heal. You just want to sit and talk about your trauma. And for that reason, I am not encouraging it. Stop telling people you do not know about your trauma. Or maybe if you go on a night out one day, you meet someone you don't know, you'll never meet again. Tell them everything and then go about your day and just sleep after that. But not the person you intend to interact with intimately. But the 94, you're saying, yes, it is, especially for validation. Yes, it is. They don't matter, so just scam them until it feels safe. Exactly. I'm not even going to mince your words. Yes, keep that mask on until you can trust them. The cookie 254 says, again, sometimes sharing your emotions with your partner makes you stuck in an unhappy relationship. Your emotions, like if that trauma and all of that, and I think we've just discussed it here, that some people can actually use it to manipulate you. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. And also, even if you share these things, don't share them as trauma don't share it as this is trauma that won't go away. Get to a point, prioritize healing. Get to a point where the trauma story is just that. It's just a story. It's not that every time we're talking about this trauma, it's something that affects our lives. Now there's a shift in our life and our dynamic. You get, it's not like you can, and healing does not mean that trauma is not there anymore. It doesn't make you feel like, it doesn't make you feel a type of way anymore. The trauma is always there. The idea is just to have it managed to the point that we can still operate, we can still interact in our lifestyle, we can still, there won't be a shift because of this trauma in our lives. But the trauma will always be there. It will always be a story. It's a part of your past. It literally has made you who you are today. So we are not trying to erase it. We're just trying to say, manage it well. Manage it well so that it's also healthy. And think of it as most of you want to bring children into this world. And it will be very unfair if you still want this trauma to affect you and affect your relationships when you bring a child to this world who requires stability. You need, there's seasons and moments when you'll break down and everything is off, but this trauma should not sit with you throughout, constantly affecting your relationship and how you interact. So it is, again, it's a layered conversation. Mesh Maina 5, you're saying, I stand with self-therapy. Meditation, journaling, reading books helped me a lot. There is actually self-therapizing. So you can prioritize it, but it also takes a lot of intentionality. Me, I remember telling myself, I never want to feel unhappy again. Unhappy is such, una feel too vibaya. I said, I want to shed off any feeling of unhappiness. Well, that's not possible. You still have days that are very inconvenient. But the way I worked, I achieved ultimate peace. I am so peaceful right now in my life. There are days, there are bad days. In fact, this year has been on me. This year has really kicked my imeni massage. The year has massaged me. But at the end of the day, I'm peaceful. A lot of people check up on me. My friends will check up on me and I'll be like, yeah, there's a lot going on. But I genuinely am peaceful and happy. Imagine I am. So at the end of the day, the intentionality. The cookie 254, you say, ukienda kwa therapy kuna limitations, but boyfriend, you can speak to any time when you have a mental crash. This is your boyfriend that you've been with for a while. If that's it, fine. But also be careful about your boyfriend holding you so much, because now they might be your rehabilitation center. And we are saying we are not rehabilitation centers for any adults. And your boyfriend might be the most beautiful hearted person of all time, and they care for you and they're really there for you, but also understand that they too might be getting drained or tired. Even if they don't say it, they still love you and they'll still show up. But I don't know what about you. Do you also hold them in that space? Do you also provide the security and safety that they provide you, that they too feel secure enough to be able to go through their emotions? Or are they now constantly on alert because you have your moments and they have to stay alert? So at the end of the day, yes, your boyfriend is everything, no limitations. Yeah. Na mbona therapy kuna limitations? Sielewi mbona therapy kuna limitations. Your therapist should hear everything. 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 But yes, I do understand where you're coming from. I just want you to also be conscious of the fact that if this is happening often, or you are very heavily reliant on your partner to hold you in those moments when you're breaking down, and maybe these moments happen often, they too are also getting exhausted. It's not a bad thing. They're also just human. They too are getting exhausted. So just have that in your consciousness. Badre M94. Yes, you can talk to your boyfriend, but do you consider his mental state now that men don't express themselves easily? You've literally just clocked the exact point I was talking about. Yeah. The cookie 254, I don't know if you're responding. You're saying, I once didn't know I haven't healed. I was having a meeting with a mysterious friend about business. I shared almost everything. It wasn't in my plan. I didn't know how to react, I think, later. So again, as I've said, the trauma is never that we get rid of it. We just learn how to manage it. So I know very well that I am hurting, but in this particular situation, I have learned how to hold back and not share with this person, or not trauma dump on this person until I get home and deal and find my person who now I can trauma dump on, right? Like things like those. The healing and unpacking is not so much so for you to be able to not deal with it or break down when this trauma is happening, only for you to know how to manage it around different situations. So that's the entire idea. That's the entire idea. And also don't beat yourself up when it happens. As humans, imagine we're not perfect. And zingine, watu wa kujudge too. If you ever broke down and had to go through a moment in front of someone who you didn't plan to, imagine shida yake, wacha kujudge. So what will we do now? The cookie you said, mtu akipata formula ya kuheal mnishtue, msiweke therapy hapo, wala drugs. No, it has to come from you. It has to come from you. Have to have the intention yourself. And this is for healing. Like there's regular trauma, and then there's also mental illness. Okay. So if there's mental illness or mental disorder, that is something that is now medical. That one has to be dealt with a psychiatrist, with, I think, people in the psychology field. That one is medical. But if we're talking about just general day-to-day interactions and traumas that you've had from your past, then that is something that the intention has to come from you. So I think a lot of people also look to the outside to find relief inside. But at the end of the day, it has to come from within. We are not talking, it has to come from within I can't speak on mental illnesses. That's just what I'm saying. I can't speak on mental illnesses. The Don Mario saying limitations ni pesa Olive. The limitation is always money. It's always money. It's always money. I totally get it. And that is why I'm advocating for self-therapy. If you're intentional enough and you want to heal particular things, we have so many resources online. What is it called? Even me, if you can take one of the books, what is it called? The services I'm offering are clustered. So you see, you can't afford a coaching session, but you can afford 150, right? So you can buy a book about the situation. You can buy a chapter of the book about a situation that you're going through that can help you unpack and will give you like practical things to do in that situation. So at the end of the day, there are so many resources on YouTube, ChatGPT, all these things are there. If you are intentional to unpack and heal, you will get there. I promise you will. There is nothing as strong as human intention. The cookie 254, you say limitations in therapy. Can you call your therapist sanane ya usiku? Now you see, this is a different thing. This is now dependency. And that is unhealthy. I'll call that out. That is unhealthy. The fact that when this thing clocks, I need someone to attend to me right now, and that's why you think your boyfriend is important, that's unhealthy. That is actually unhealthy. That is dependency. Literally, you're saying you don't want therapy and you don't want drugs, but you just have another form of dependency. You're literally depending on a human being to hold you when you're breaking. And you want it at the time when you need it. At that time when you want it then. That one I have to clock. That's a problem. Miss Ochon, you're saying the cookie 254. Unfortunately, the only way is through you. Yes, you must be willing to be better and do better. And as the wonderful Olive said, it must be intentional and try Jesus and music. The cookie to 54 amesema, Jesus tena, what if I'm Indian or Muslim? Religion is one thing, faith is another thing, spirituality is a thing. So different people are able to deal differently, and just find your thing. Find your thing. But the idea that you're reliant on another human being, that is a recipe for disaster. Mr. Chong says, and the fact that you are aware you need the help is actually a good start. Yes, because most of us still are in denial. Oh, never mind. Then if you are Indian and Muslim, sorry, I spoke to what I know. I think even when you mention Jesus, it's not so much that Jesus, I think you just mentioned it's the idea of faith or God. So whatever it is that floats your boat, whether you're in Islam, you go ahead. You and Allah have the best of times. If you are Indian, Indian is the race. If you are Hindu, you and Akina Krishna, make the best of it. If you are Buddhist, you and Buddha, see what you can do together. But at the end of the day, just find what gives you peace and what works for you. Do not use other people's, don't copy paste. You can use other people for inspiration, but don't copy paste. The Don Mario telling Kukija therapy mzuri for me is a long ass walk. It's different for different people. It really is different for different people. Even the other day, I was crashing out and I nearly bed rot. I was in bed until I think 12 noon. I said, come by. So you have to find your way. But at the end of the day, this conversation has gone 2 hours and I guess 30 minutes. And we have to call it a day. This is the In All Honesty podcast that comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live with yours truly, Olive Orao. And if you have missed the live action, do not worry. You'll find it on all streaming platforms from tomorrow onward. So you can hear it on AfriPods, on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Castbox, where you stream your podcasts. You should be able to get it. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Today, we were talking about sex in relation to sex appeal. No, your sex appeal is another topic. No, sex in relation to self-worth and also if sex is a currency. And we've gone and went into a whole mental health. We really we diverted. But yes, I hope it's a good episode and you have a good time. Now, I was introducing you to some girls who I found at Spotify. I met at the Spotify event. They don't matter. I don't mean introducing you at Inamba Cupid. I'm introducing you to their music, please. So we started the episode with Amini by Hilda Watiri. Then in the middle, we went in on E-Love by Njiru. Add them to your playlist, and Njiru. And now I want to play for you. We'll finish the podcast with Dive by Lonita. And let me read the last comments here before we go. Jameni. Ngoja. The Donmar, the Cookie 254. Therapy mzuri is a long walk. The Cookie 254 says, I've been to therapy. I live there thinking I'm good. Then boom, mentally crash, relapse, huku na kule. I really think your situation should, it's a different thing that should be looked into. But professionally, yeah, I think your situation is different. I don't know what it is. I really do not know what it is. If I find like more resources on it, I could really, I would share. So we'll see. But I'm really hoping for the best for you. And I'm hoping you feel better. I really hope you feel better. Ni mimi unasema I'm not fan the Donmar. Juu nimekaza kuwapatia namba ya wasichana nilipata Spotify. Such a shame. But anyway, we call it a day, we call it a podcast, and we'll close the podcast with Dive by Lonita. And have yourselves a lovely, lovely week. Enjoy your week, enjoy your Monday, and until next Monday, see you then. Bye.
Took a long time coming. Finally, you're here. Baby, since I found you, I'll never let you go. Baby, hold me closer. Never let me go. Never ever. Baby, love me like you can. Baby, take me slow motion.
Yeah, you know we diving it, take it slow. You know we vibing, yeah, that's for sure. I've been thinking about you daily, got me tripping on the low. You would win the competition, ain't no eeny, money, mo. Girl, you looking like a light beam, see the way you glow. No, you ain't basic, so I gotta keep you on the low. Cause I need you, girl. I drive in a whip just to see you, girl. So come chill with me, catch a feeling,
Baby,
girl.
baby, hold me.